Welcome, Linsey Denham, BACH Flower Remedy Practitioner and Level 1 BACH Trainer. And I want to say a big thank you for being so generous to share your knowledge of BACH flowers. And I wanted to especially ask you about your experience with remedies and people who are in grief. When we face the end of life, when someone dies or is ill, or even when we first receive a diagnosis of a disease or condition, we are shocked, and from that moment onwards, a long and complex process takes place. And how is your experience, Linsey, with BACH flower remedies and people who are suffering a bereavement?
Okay, I have many experiences of helping people who suffer from bereavement or have suffered from bereavement, and those remedies have always brought them comfort and always brought them some relief from the emotions that they have been experiencing. I could speak a little bit about my own grief. I had the loss of my parents, but 20 years apart. So when my father died in 1990, I was only 27. So I really had never prepared myself for any kind of loss, and I didn't have any coping mechanisms, and I didn't know about the BACH flower remedies. So when my father died, I very much, I was a nurse, and I very much went into nurse mode, and I stuffed down all my emotions around that grief. It was almost like I was playing a role in a movie, and I told everybody I was not going to cry at the funeral. I was going to be stoic, and everybody would say, wow, she's such a strong person. And I didn't cry, you know, and in hindsight, that was not the smartest thing to have done to myself, because I think for more than 20 years, I didn't really grieve or heal from the loss of my father. And interestingly, when my mother died in 2009, I had used the BACH flower remedies for 7 or 8 years by then. I was already a practitioner. I already believed totally in these little bottles of flower energy. And they helped me not only with the grief afterwards, but they helped me navigate the grief of losing her. You know, they gave me the strength, I think, the ability to climb up on the bed beside her and just say through sobs it was okay for her to go. You know, obviously for me, I didn't want her to go, but it gave me that kind of, I don't know, the ability to just the acceptance of this is time, it'll be okay. You know, if you can hear me, just go. And even I was somebody, I'm the middle child, so I was always the fixer, always the one everybody went to, and dealt with my mother very much on my own with a lot of her illness. But the remedies helped me to see that I didn't have to do it alone as well. So I did send my brother a message asking him to come to the hospital. So that was, you know, that was something that the remedies can help you do, is to reach out for that help that you need. And subsequently, we called my sister, and she also came. So we were very lucky that Mum held on until the 3 of us were there and then passed. But my experience of afterwards, it allowed me to fully grieve, to fully allow my children to see me grieve. You know, they were as shocked as I was that it happened, because there was no, she was supposed to be getting home from the hospital, so there was no expectation of the phone call coming in saying, you need to come in. So it was a real shock to our system. And my daughter, my middle child, when I went home, she, God love her, she didn't understand. She was, oh gosh, how old? She was just young. But, you know, she said to me, you know, is Gran going to be okay? You know, and it was like, the remedies, I think, allowed me to fully sob and say, no, you know, she's not here anymore, you know, which then I was able to support her with the flower remedies for the shock to her system. So yeah, all the emotions that were there, I felt them. So the BACH flower remedies are not about not feeling the feels. You know, you're going to feel them, but they just, it's almost like they take the edge off. and they give you the comfort to move forward. You know, so for us, the planning with my brother and sister, the planning of the funeral, we laughed more that week and cried, but we laughed so much with memories and, you know, little stories. And I didn't remember doing that with my dad, you know, because I was in this, you know, fixed, it's not really happening mode. You know, it was almost like I disconnected. And I wonder if it's like that for lots of people, for, you know, in bereavement, that they disconnect from their emotions and then they stuff them down and they don't feel them. And I think what happened for me years later was that all those stuffed down emotions made me both mentally and physically ill. And I think that was because I didn't deal with my emotions. And if we don't deal with them, they have to go somewhere. And I think for me, that was my mental and physical health really deteriorated. So. Yeah, and my healing with mum's bereavement was quick, you know, relatively speaking. I don't think I healed from dad's loss until after I had healed from my mother's loss, which sounds very strange, but that's actually my experience, because I didn't deal with them till after. Like, I didn't deal with dad until after I dealt with mum. So.
Yes, so the BACH flowers help us start talking about our emotions, and the more we talk about them, the more we connect to our own feelings. Then it doesn't happen what happened to you in that experience, that you didn't cry to your father and then you cried to your mother and your father together, because we feel we have to be happy the whole time and we have to show that we are strong, and then life is not that. We need to cry, we need to grieve, and that is it. So BACH flowers help us start being connected with our emotions. So it's like this training we have, and we start like, okay, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling desperate, I'm feeling my own life is finishing. We have to find a way to connect with how we feel without being afraid of what we are undergoing. If we are sad, we need to cry, and there is no problem with that. But when someone dies, or when we receive like a diagnosis and we are afraid of dying, or we face death for the first time, we don't know what to do. And we have some flowers for that moment, that is when we don't know what to do. We have to experience it, and we cry, and we have to talk about it or do what we can with that emotion.
I think that's right. I think when the diagnosis comes, you know, when you've not been expecting a diagnosis, or even if you were expecting a diagnosis, you know, it's a bit like, you know, I was expecting my father's death, I wasn't expecting my mother's death, you know, but the diagnosis is the diagnosis, the death is the death. So really the expecting it doesn't make it any easier, I don't think. I think the diagnosis comes, and then it's set in front of you. And for me, I had a little, you know, a couple of little experiences that I think were given to me of possible big problems, so that I had to have investigated. But I'm someone who has, I'm very lucky that I have energy healing in other modalities in my life. And also I meditate, and I have lots of friends who I can also reach out to. So for me, I had that extra support. But even with that, when I had the phone call saying you need to go for further tests because we found this, it was a shock to my system. You know, it was like this, what? You know, what did they just say? You know, I was just there this morning. Why are they calling me this afternoon? And why are they telling me I have to go back? So it was this real shock to my system. And I don't think that I was, this has happened to me before, that when it happens to me, I forget about Rescue Remedy. I forget about Star of Bethlehem, because I'm in the shock, you know, I'm in it. So I have had occasion before where, when I've told somebody about the shock or about the situation, they've said to me, have you taken Rescue Remedy? And I've gone, no, I haven't. You know, and it's like sometimes I, even with my experience, need that outside reminder, because when we're in our emotions, boy, we're in them, and they grow arms and legs. So for me, this last experience that I had to wait 5 days for results, and it was it was the remedy white chestnut that I was drawn to, because I kept having these thoughts, you know, want to take over. They just kept going round and round and round. And I remember vividly being at the gym on the treadmill. And normally I say a mantra when I'm working out. I totally pay attention to my body and I say a mantra. And the mantra couldn't be said because I kept having these dark, it was like an octopus was in there with its dark tentacles trying to get me to go down this dark path of what could happen, what might happen, what the story might be. But that was fear. You know, fear was taking me as well as. So I just wanted to put this like on the screen. This is the Rescue Night. And it's Dr. BACH didn't put white chestnut into Rescue Remedy, that was the company themselves, but it's an incredibly useful combination after a diagnosis, because it helps, the white chestnut helps to switch off those unwanted thoughts that are repeating, and the Rescue Remedy itself helps support you with that shock and that fear that you've just experienced. So I grabbed that on the way to the laptop, thinking, oh, I think that would be a really nice thing to offer people.
Yes, that's a very nice combination. And especially when we don't know what to take and when we don't know what is happening to us, when we have those shocks, it's like, okay, let's take Rescue Remedy and see then what other flowers we can take, and the flowers that will help us walk during the process. The process will go, I mean, we will feel happier and sad, but we have to go through that. And Rescue Remedy help us, okay, say, all right, something is happening to me. Let's see how am I experience this emotion, because we don't react in the same way. You take mimulus, or you can, perhaps you might need sweet chestnut, or perhaps gorse. We don't know how we are going to experience the situation. And perhaps we lose someone, we need some flowers, and then perhaps we lose some other person and our experience is completely different because our life has changed. But the good idea is to connect and don't be afraid of your feeling. And if you are sad, okay, just cry and connect to that. We are all the time like showing, okay, I can cope with life, I am a strong person, and okay, life is everything, okay, it's complete. So we are sad and we are happy and we have to experience it all. When you worked as a nurse, do you have any memories of being with people, accompanying people who are suffering?
Certainly being with people who were suffering, of course, that was way, well, I didn't, I gave up nursing in 2006 from the actual wards, from the units, from the clinical nursing, and from 2006 to 2007 I created a family drop-in centre at our sick children's hospital. I didn't create it, I was the assistant manager, so we built a family centre, and I came into conflict in there because my job was as the assistant manager for emotional support, but I wasn't allowed to bring in my BACH flower remedies. That was kind of it was out with my job description. So I chose not to stay in the job because not anybody, but lots of people could have done my job, but I wanted so desperately to be offering the BACH flower remedies. And I was already offering them to the staff in the hospital to help them deal with all their emotions. So back to supporting patients. I mainly supported the families, but again, not with the BACH flower remedies. It was kind of out with my remit. The only time that I have used the remedies within the hospital situation was for the staff who were supporting the families. I was supporting the staff who were supporting the families. So, but I have certainly supported lots of people in the hospital, but not with my BACH flower remedies, unfortunately. That was my pre-life, was the nursing without BACH remedies.
Now you're helping people. I mean, you're still helping people now using these magic flowers, the BACH flowers. And it's very important to listen to people, to tell them that you are there, that you can listen to them, you can help them, because at times I feel that I have someone who is looking to us, someone who is like, okay, right, they are saying, okay, I am here. I know it will take time, but I am here for you. Just speak, cry. I am here to help you with what you need. And at times are those simple things that we forget. And we forget in our everyday life, and especially when we are suffering, it's like kind of our mind is somewhere else. And we forget about the simple things, about the everyday things that make us feel well. So I really like this invitation of the BACH Flower Remedies to start, okay, just pay attention to how do you feel, what flower can help you in this process. So that's really, really nice. I really love, Linsey, what you are creating in your account and in your Facebook and Instagram account. And I would like you to invite us to follow you, because you are doing something. I love your weekly meditations. You are every week picking one BACH flower, and you are telling us, you to start talking about it. And well, you can explain us what you are doing.
Yes, it was. It's interesting. It's very interesting, because I was looking last year at how disorganized I was on social media, and I wanted. People kept telling me I had to be consistent, so I had this idea at the end of last year that on January 1st I would start to use the remedies one at a time for 1 week. And it's not the way we normally work with remedies at all, and it's not the way that I work with clients, but it was a way for me to chronicle about each remedy on a themed day, so the same thing happens each day of the week. So I do a vlog on a Wednesday, I do a meditation on a Monday, and I do my thoughts about the remedies, a quote from Dr. BACH, his description of the remedies, and the freedoms that the remedies can bring. So I halfway through, so there's 38 remedies, and rescue remedy will be the last week, so 39 weeks. And it was one of my friends pointed out to me that that's the gestation of a baby. A human baby is 39 weeks. And I thought, whoa, I wonder what I'm birthing. And then I thought, well, you know what? This is going to be a book. All the information is there. I'm just going to slot it all into a book with a meditation CD, or a download or something. So a link to all the meditations. And it was just like, okay, so the reason the universe had me start this experiment for myself was that then it was going to be a gift out to the world, just on my experiences. And it's been wonderful. And I have been so committed to do everything the way that, the schedules, the way that I do it. And yesterday's was the first day that I haven't done something on the day that it was supposed to be done. And that was a gift to myself, that I thought I could force myself to do this. And then I thought, you're not going to do your best work when you're not feeling up to it. So I gave myself the day off and I recorded it this morning. So it was interesting, because usually I say, welcome to Monday's meditation. And I thought, oh, it's not Monday, it's Tuesday. But I am loving it. I'm loving Instagram. I love taking my little pictures every day and putting them on, trying to make them look good. And I have so many ideas in my head. That's one of my problems, is I want to do so much that, but I know I have to focus on the BACH flowers and try to spread the word about how simple they are, and for self-help, and for grief, they're just wonderful. For illness, they're wonderful. For supporting someone who is ill, they are wonderful. Because I think often when there's a diagnosis, the person who has this terrible diagnosis is trying to comfort the people around them, when they're telling them that they have this terrible diagnosis. And I've heard so many stories from friends who really are grieving themselves with their diagnosis, but they're comforting everybody else. This is not quite right. So for me, if a person is not able to use the remedies themselves, I try to support the family so that the family can support the person. So that's a really interesting but important dynamic for us to remember is, that we have to support the families around these people so that they can support the person going through whatever illness they're going through.
Yes, it's like we are all connected. So someone helping someone else. Yes. So Linsey, it's your Facebook is BACH Flowers Consultations. What is the name of your Facebook? Which like
okay, it's batchflowerconsultsonline.com.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, because that is for Facebook.
Yes. That's for Facebook. That was actually my original website, which still exists, is Batch Flower Consults Online. And my thought in 2007 was that I desperately wanted people to be able to get remedies wherever they were in the world. So that was why I called it online, so that I could do email consultations, telephone anything that involved distance, because lots of Scotland is remote. And I'm from Scotland, you can hear, and Canada is huge where I am now. So again, there's people in remote places who can only access online. So that was my thought when I gave my business name its name, but it's a big long one. So batchflowerconsultsonline.com.
Yes, and then in Instagram, you have another name, don't you?
Yes, I'm Batch Magic.
Yes. So now we are like you are in almost the northern part of the world, and I'm in the most southern part of the world. I'm in Argentina, and you're in Canada now. So we are like kind of connecting from one end to the other. So that's magic too.
Yeah, it is magic, and the flowers. Yeah, the flowers to be in both places. And Canada doesn't have a huge following of the Batch flowers, and I think that's probably why the universe had me come here, because there's very few trainers, very few practitioners, and I'm trying to do the rally call to get everybody up and running and out there. Come on, they need us. So.
Sure. Well, I hope this has been of help to anyone who is struggling with bereavement, grief, loss, or is interested in Batch flower remedies. And well, Linsey, I want to say a big thank you. Thank you very much for your time and for your generosity. I really encourage people to follow your Facebook page and your Instagram and be delighted with your knowledge of everything you know about the flowers and how you share it. It's really inspiring. When I found you online, it inspired me, and I encourage people to follow you. Yes, you're doing something terrific online. It's great.
Thank you, and thank you for connecting and for letting me speak about my passion, because it is my passion. I will talk about it like from morning till noon till night time if anybody will listen. So thank you.